You're achieving external baseline stability, at least on paper. Your standardized academic metrics are fine, social connections exist, there's an absence of interpersonal conflict, financial liabilities are being managed. From an external perspective, it all looks within normal parameters. But then you experience a period of low external stimuli. Everything goes quiet, and there's that somatic chest constriction. Not a full panic attack, more like impending doom, like you've overlooked a critical variable in a dataset and can't identify it. The most irrational part is that you lack a clear causal attribution. Nothing is objectively wrong. Still, your nervous system doesn't seem convinced. What you're feeling isn't being dramatic. Psychology has specific semantic nodes for this, and understanding this neurobiological framework might shift how you see your anxiety. Quick pause. Drop a brain emoji in the comments if you've ever felt anxious for no identifiable reason. Your anxiety probably isn't a character flaw or a systemic failure. Some psychologists describe this pattern as background threat activation. The concept is simple. At some point, your brain may have learned that homeostatic calm wasn't entirely safe. It encoded a rule that positive outcomes could disappear, and that relaxation was a high-risk state. So instead of deactivating the alarm, your system maintains a low-frequency alert state, not loud enough to notice, but never reaching full homeostatic silence. You're not fragile, your brain simply developed a high-performance protection script. Your nervous system is in hypervigilant scan mode. I sometimes picture this anxiety as an amygdala-driven surveillance system that never clocks out. It's constantly performing micro-expression analysis, reading faces and listening for subtle tonal shifts. Maybe in your formative years, things were unpredictable. Not necessarily traumatic, just inconsistent. Loud moments or unstable household dynamics. Over time, your system undergoes neural adaptation. Psychologists call this chronic sympathetic activation, essentially your body staying in a state of perpetual physiological readiness. For Gen Z and millennials, you grew up in a synchronous information environment that never deactivates. Notifications, digital doom scrolling, and macroeconomic volatility provided a constant stream of negative data. Your biological security guard didn't fail. It just never received a rest and digest mandate. Worth may have felt conditional. As children, many of us internalized conditional worth conditioning. You picked up the idea that affection and safety were tied to measurable performance, academic rankings, helpful behavior, and being easy to manage. The message lands, I am only safe during periods of high productivity. When life is stable, this rule creates cognitive dissonance. If you aren't striving, your brain asks, am I still okay? Is this stability real? This creates dread even when nothing is wrong. Peace was something you learned to earn, not something you learned to receive. You grew up absorbing a chaotic world. The brain doesn't reach full neurobiological maturity until around 25. Now think about the high energy data many people absorbed during those years. Mass casualty headlines, a global pandemic, economic insolvency, and systemic political tension. Researchers call this collective trauma imprinting, the shared background anxiety of growing up during prolonged unstable cycles. When your brain assumes the world is unpredictable, it isn't inventing the idea. It is running historical data analysis. In kintsugi, broken pottery is repaired with gold, making the fractures the most striking part. Anxiety doesn't magically become beautiful, but the cracks often come with elevated awareness and empathy. The anxiety is the fracture. The high-resolution perspective it created is the gold. Your brain predicts using old data. A fascinating piece of research is Bayesian predictive processing. The brain constantly calculates what's coming next based on historical probabilities. If good moments previously ended in systemic disruption, your brain quietly expects that pattern again. You could be in a high arousal social interaction, like a party, and suddenly feel dread, not because of the party, but because your brain is running an outdated prediction of what joy once led to. Predictions, unlike memories, can be updated via new data. You notice more than most people. Psychology describes this as elevated socio-emotional attunement. You pick up interpersonal signals and microtensions that others miss. This high-gain reception is a gift, but it also catches static and imagined possibilities. Sensitivity may simply need boundaries and cognitive direction. Feelings weren't always welcome. Many of us grew up without emotional coaching protocols. We adapted through emotional suppression or intellectualization. This creates an emotional suppression load, the weight of unprocessed emotional data that never had a safe place to land. Anxiety is often accumulated allostatic load asking to be acknowledged. Rest can feel strangely unsafe when you have nothing to do. Do you feel homeostatic peace or rest-induced hyperarousal? If constant action once signaled safety, then stillness feels like a breach in security. This is rest anxiety, a nervous system unsure what calm is supposed to feel like. If you feel anxious even when life is stable, your brain is doing exactly what it was trained to do: anticipate risk and stay ready. You are running a legacy neurobiological survival script in a life that's finally safer. Understanding this doesn't erase anxiety, but it changes your relationship with the data. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What happened that made my brain this careful?" If this semantic reframe resonated, share it with someone who might quietly feel the same way.